The union budget for 23-24 is actually a big disappointment because it's a contractionary budget and therefore it is anti-people, attacking their livelihoods and mounting greater burdens. The Indian economy was already slowing down before the pandemic struck. During the pandemic years, situation got worse. Post-pandemic recovery is now also being hampered by the global economic situation, which is moving towards a global recession. Under these circumstances, what the budget should have done is actually increase the purchasing powers in the hands of the Indian people, generating greater domestic demand, which would have led to also recover the economy and create jobs. This could have been done if governmental expenditures were increased substantially. Instead, what do we see in this budget? That the government expenditures have increased by a mere 7%, even when the nominal GDP was 15.4%, which means in terms of GDP, as a percentage of GDP, the government expenditures have actually declined. This apart, you also have a situation where allocations that would have increased people's welfare, boosted domestic demand, to allocations to these sectors have been substantially reduced. Unemployment situation in the country is at its worst. Despite that, for the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the allocation has been reduced by 33%. Food subsidy, so vital to feed our people, has been reduced by 90,000 crores. Fertilizer subsidy by rupees 50,000 crores and petroleum subsidy by 6,900 crores, which means all the essential items, including the welfare of our farmers and in agriculture, all these allocations have been reduced. And despite the devastation caused by the pandemic, nearly 9,255 crores of what was allocated for the health budget last time went unspent. Likewise, 4,297 crores allocated for education went unspent. And this budget does not even increase, even in a nominal way, what the remuneration your scheme workers get. All through the pandemic, it was these scheme workers, the Anganwadi, the Asha, the midday meals workers, these were the ones that kept the country going and serving the people, particularly our children. Nothing has been increased for them, and all talk about social justice, but what is the budget allocated for the SCs? It is only 3.5% compared to a population of 16%. And the ST budget is only 2.7% compared to a population of 8.6%. And the Kisan Fund of the Prime Minister, PM Kisan Fund, that sees a reduction from 68 to 60,000. The net result of all this is that instead of expanding the economy, you find a contraction. And at the same time, there's a concerted attack on fiscal federalism, and that is the rights of the states, and their resources are continuously being squeezed. And what has been transferred to the states last year, if you discount inflation altogether, it's exactly the same amount that was transferred the year before, that is in 21-22. So given all this, it is clear that attacks on federalism, contraction of the economy, at the same time, more concessions to the rich. When the Oxfam report tells us that 1% of richest Indians have cornered 40.5% of the wealth generated in the country during the last 2 years, yet this section goes untouched. In fact, there's a reduction in the highest tax rate for them. So with this sort of a situation, the condition of the people are bound to get worse in the coming year, and at the same time, the economy is going to contract further. Yes, there's been some relief to the salaried class when the income tax exemption has been raised from 5 to 7 lakhs a year. But this will be more than offset by the rise in prices as well as cuts in social sector expenditures, which means everybody will have to pay more for every essential need, including health and education. Therefore, in sum, what needed to be done was not done, and what was actually required was, one, to substantially increase public investments in job-creating works. Number two, vastly increase allocations for the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme with increased wages. Number three, restore the 5 kg subsidized food grains, which has now been stopped, along with the 5 kg free food grains that continues. Fourthly, impose a wealth and an inheritance tax. Finally, withdraw the GST on all essential commodities, particularly food and medicines. These 5 were the minimum that were expected from this budget, but that didn't happen. So therefore, the CPIM will organize nationwide protest actions demanding that these 5 measures be implemented between the 22nd and 28th of February. And we appeal to all well-meaning Indians who value the livelihood, to improve the livelihood conditions of our people, to rise in protest against this budget and demanding these 5 essential measures that must be undertaken immediately.